Joining me now, the head coach of the Brandon Wheat Kings, Don MacGillivray. Don, let's talk about your team. I mean, the boys are back in town. Camp is kind of in full swing and getting ready for the preseason now is your group. First of all, I mean, just give me a sense of what the excitement level is like over in Brandon of the boys being back and getting ready for a new season of Wheat Kings hockey.
Yeah, like every other year, start of training camp's always an exciting time. You see your veterans come back, what kind of condition kind of work they put in over the off season, and then obviously we've had two draft classes that we haven't had at a Brandon rookie camp before. So really excited to see those guys on the ice, and camp went really well. It was really smooth. Our scouting staff did a terrific job in terms of drafting some players that we think will be really good players in the future, and can help. Some of them can help us right now.
I mean, you were a team that had 3 first-round picks in the 2021 draft, Don, and we got to look at a couple of them last season in Ellick and McQueen and Caleb Hadland, of course, in that group as well. But now, as 16-year-old players, what have they brought in terms of energy, in terms of talent to kind of the younger end of your group here as we get toward the preseason?
Well, all three of those players you mentioned had terrific camps. I think the experience that Roger and Charlie got with us last year, especially Charlie in the playoffs, will definitely pay off for him and for us. And we look for them to make an impact right away. I think that they can come in and establish a role and become real solid players for us. So McQueen's a 6'5" big forward who's got a high skill level, and Charlie played regular minutes, played some big minutes in the playoffs last year. So, Caleb's didn't get a chance to play with us last year, but he looks like he's right on track to have a good season, and has fit in really nicely.
When you look at your group as a whole, Don, what are some of the things that excite you the most about it?
Well, our forward group, certainly, I think when you look at it, down the middle, Nate Danielson's going to move back into the middle. So we're going to roll out Richie Danielson, Bolshakov. Those three guys have a lot of experience and a lot of talent, and I think they can drive our team, drive a line. So that's exciting. Brett Hyland, Jake Chason, those are two guys that are just coming into their own as 19-year-olds. Chason obviously was drafted by Edmonton, and Hyland's, a very motivated player, has been a good player for us. So we've got, other players that are going to be pushing for ice time. That's what is exciting. And I think that in the forward group, especially, we have guys that are pushing to get key minutes, more responsibility, that type of thing. So competition in practice has been high, and we expect that to continue through the preseason.
And you look at your back end as well, you obviously lose Nychuk, who is a big offensive catalyst. Vincent Iorio is a signed 20-year-old and obviously has a chance to go pro if there's an opportunity there for him. But I mean, there's, aside from Charlie Ellick, you've got some interesting looking young defensemen there, and the likes of Hammett and Manti as well. I mean, tell me a little bit about your defense core and what you're hoping to see out of them this year.
Yeah, I think our defense core has a chance to take a step. I think those guys all got really good experience last year. We're expecting Quinn Manti and Logan Hammett to take a step. We added Andre Malavin that we picked up in the Euro draft, who's come in and probably exceeded my expectation in terms of how he's looked. And obviously Mason Ward, is a big, strong player that played significant minutes for us last year. So, we've got some younger guys like Harrison Turner that played with us, played probably 40 games last year, that got some experience, got their feet wet after not playing hockey for a year. So it'll be interesting to see if they can take a step, and if they can, then we'll be just fine back there.
Share with me your thoughts on Carson Bjarnason, because this is a guy that was part of the Canada group that won gold at the Linka Gretzky. And I talked to another team yesterday that had a couple of guys on that team, and I asked their head coach, I mean, is that kind of a nice way to kickstart a new season in terms of having momentum, having success on the international stage, and then carrying that experience back to your WHL club? Just tell me a little bit about Carson and just the mindset that he's in right now after going through that experience in Red Deer.
Yeah, I think that experience was extremely valuable for Carson. I think, he was our backup last year behind Ethan Kruger, and he was put in some really tough situations early in the season. I think there was a handful of games where he didn't even have a backup, or he had an emergency backup, and he had to fight through some of those situations, and really showed his mental makeup and and having the opportunity to go and play for Hockey Canada, not only, kind of flying under the radar and then getting the invitation first of all, and then making the team and then getting on the game day roster, actually playing in a couple games, is going to serve him very well. I think he's a good person. He works hard. He wants to be the best goalie that he can be. So I really think that that experience will set him up well to get off to a good start here.
Lastly, for you, Don, I mean, it's no secret the East Division is kind of loaded this year with your guys. The Ice, the Warriors, the Blades. I mean, the list goes on and on. Connor Bedard and Regina as well. I mean, how anxious are you guys to kind of see where you stand in this group, in this division, and kind of get to rekindle some of those rivalries with some of your divisional rivals?
Yeah, when you look in the East Division, all the teams are really good. They're all have some what I would call star players, guys that you have to focus on and build a game plan around. It'll be interesting to see how everybody adjusts, and everybody every year loses good players, and everybody usually has good players coming in. So it's how you mix and gel, and who can get to their game the quickest. And last year for us, we had a ton of injuries early in the season, probably till mid-November, where we didn't really gain any traction. Then we started to take off, and I thought at the end of the season we started to become a decent team, a team that was had an identity, and that's what we're trying to establish as early as possible here. If we can get to our identity sooner than later, then we're in a tough division and you can't get off to a slow start. We want to make sure that we're competitive every night.